I know what I'm like. Like, I'll be working here, looking at the computer, doing what I need to do, task on hand. I've got this computer open here, and I'm like typing on a different task here, and then I'm back to here while scrolling Instagram at the same time. And I'm like, holy shit, I've got all this going. You know, it's like a dopamine overload that it just sucks the life out of me. And then it's like, I've got all this stuff inside my head. I need to put it on a canvas. I need to look at it, figure it out. Nah, scrap that. We don't need that. That's a misalignment. We don't need that. Like, just to be able to get it. It's like when you have too many tabs open on a computer. What happens? The computer runs slow, doesn't it? Close the tabs, hit refresh, and away we go again. So I did a podcast with a guy yesterday by the name of Lawrence. And I released something on that podcast that I've never released before. Happy to dive into that deeper. We didn't dive into that because I was like, I wanted to hold off on that. So I wanted to dive. So if you want to go into that, we can dive into that.
Oh, okay.
Essentially, like wherever you want to have the conversation, but essentially my biggest thing that I've never said live on a podcast before was we want to be Australia's best streetwear brand that specializes in hats. And I did kind of get things wrong. I said we want to take Culture Kings head on. It's not Culture Kings that I want to take head on. It's the hat industry, new era. Obviously, Culture Kings.
Gotcha.
Thing. Yeah. So like that's, if you want to dive into that, we can, but I'm an open book. We can go into relationships. We can go into everything.
This is good. Well, we're going to begin there. We're literally going to begin there right now as we're talking about it. As I've had someone who's close to Simon before on this podcast as well. And I wanted to start, I was going to be like, look, we've had a bit of a conversation back in 2022 with yourself. And we went through a little bit of your backstory, where you came from, where you were there. So we've already covered things around LiveCo, things around the ambitious lifestyle, what was working, what was not working. And now coming into it, I went, you know, what I want to know from Andrew is what's the growth been like the last 2 years? But I wanted to begin kind of at the end, which was, I was going to ask you as well, what does the end look like for yourself, for end state of the company? But maybe said in another way, what will be enough?
Oh, look, I've actually I've generally got goosebumps thinking about. Look, I've got a motto of like never satisfied, always hungry. Like I feel like I'm going to be that guy that just never stops doing things. Like, you know how they're like, oh, I can't wait to, you know, be a multimillionaire and then I'm going to retire and blah, blah, blah. Like I'm still always going to have something on the go. I don't think my mind operates on just one thing. I've got to be just moving all the time. So end goal for the brand is to be Australia's best streetwear brand that specializes in hats. That's the end goal.
And we sort of looked at that. What is the competitor? Like who would be considered right now the number one? Would that be Culture Kings?
Culture Kings as the retailer, they would be the biggest retailer for it. But as a brand, I would say New Era. New Era would be the one. They're like the goats of the hats. You know, I was inspired from them from a very young age. They would probably be the ones that I'd want to take head on, I said, essentially,
Okay, so that's an end state for the company is be Australia's. I'm going to challenge you. One, why stop at Australia? What's the mentality there of say like, oh, we want to be Australia's best? Was it like a real mental decision to be like, okay, no, I'm not gonna say I'm global, or was there a reason to not aim at that level?
No, there wasn't like a reason as to why I just did Australia. I think because like once you've got the Australian market, I know that we're then going to have the New Zealand market as well because that's my hometown. Like that's something that we're going to have as well. I guess Australia and New Zealand are very the same. But I essentially see it as like as soon as we've got Australia, it's going to be a ripple effect going into the, you know, the rest of the world because we're going to hit, you know, different markets because we're essentially right now getting orders from some countries I've never ever heard of in my life. Like,
that's awesome.
I'm like, is this even going to get there? Like, this is crazy. So yeah, I think it's just like Australia. I just want to focus on the one target for now. And who knows, in 5, 6, 10 years time, it could be, you know, the US market. I don't really know just yet.
Yeah. Now, I'm not going to try and explore deeply the story because I want people to go back to the previous one to sort of catch on a couple of things. But that from a LiveCo perspective, okay, we see that. Does that then match up very closely to what the end state or enough looks like for yourself? Like, you know, if you were to achieve that goal, let's just say, of cool, we're Australia's leading, like, you know, if people think a hat product from a streetwear perspective, Cool. Live Co. That's who you're thinking of. If you were to achieve that, do you think that would feel like enough for yourself personally? Even though you might want to keep continuing to strive?
It probably won't feel enough, but the journey along the ride, because like as soon as you achieve it, you'd be like, yeah, cool. You go to sleep, you wake up the next day, you've got another day. Like for me, it's probably more the journey along, like the drive to it, to be like, fuck, we finally did it. We've made it. Now what's next? Like, let's push, there's push.
Yeah. So there's probably already built in. How long now with Live Co? Has that been?
It's been a marathon.
Yeah.
It's been a marathon.
It's been what, 6, 7 years?
No, look, if we were to look at it as a whole, Live Co's been a bit of a side hustle for a very long time, obviously working in the fitness industry and stuff like that. Realistically, as a business, I think we've been 2015, so that's 2016. So we're coming up 9 years now.
Yeah, okay.
But realistically, doubling down on it big time and going all on it, 3 years.
Yeah, okay.
3 years. So we're only really just at the start. We're only just starting. I'd like to look at it.
And it's still, I mean, the fact that you're talking to me right now and saying, like, I kind of knew where you were in 2022.
Yep.
Now it's been an evolution. There's been growth. You're saying you're getting orders from various places that you're like, wow, this is pretty impressive. Obviously that's growing and it's getting to a point that it's realistic that you can start aiming for those lofty goals as well. What would you say about the term of focus? Because I had a conversation on here not too long ago with someone who the way that they were kind of explaining was they found a bit of a challenge with having multiple focus on different things, aka they were trying to do something in the fitness space and then something in an app space, right? And I know that for yourself, you have Live Co, you have ambitious lifestyles, you're doing interviews with other people, you know, and putting some good content out there. Do you think that's been a challenge in splitting your focus into different things to maybe it's slowing down or just preventing you from quickly getting to that particular achievement? Or have you not seen that at the moment?
100% I've seen that. It's like,
okay.
I'm a person that I can't just do one thing at one time. Like I've got to be doing multiple different things, and it's the worst, one of my worst traits, but also one of my best traits, because I can multitask and do things that, you know, at different speeds to other people that can't do it. So it has probably hindered the growth, but I have pulled back a lot compared to what I was doing before. And now it's just a sense of just outsource. If there's something that doesn't inspire me, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to outsource it to somebody else. Even though it's completely in a different task, everyone knows the mission and the vision that we're striving towards, like outsource it.
Yeah.
Focus on what truly inspires me. And, you know, that could be anything from sitting here, having a chat, to something that we're doing with the ambitious lifestyle. Like, you know, in the last 12 months, I've started and failed something that no one even knows. Like, well, I wouldn't say it's failed. It was just a learning curve. But it's like, I had that in my brain that I had to take this opportunity and fucking go all in and see how it works while doing Live Co and everything else. And it didn't work out. Cool. Put it to the side, keep doing what I'm doing.
Dude, I can assimilate to this so very much. In that exact example, we have the same example. You know, we started the brand, did a few things, tried it, failed, actually forgot that we were paying for the website, had to go and reclaim all this sort of money, and gone, you got to try it. Sometimes it's good. You got to get it out of you almost. So I get where you're sort of coming from in that regard. Just picking up that point where you said outsourcing, and a bit of a tactical question. I've seen it personally in a couple of companies and the like. How do you go about scaling? So scaling effectively your individuals in the company that you're trying to build, both in the like the permanent stuff that's really like they are Live Co, and then the others who are Live Co, but they're kind of outsourced through various means.
Yeah, look, we've gone down to skeleton. So we're a skeleton business now, as in the sense of there isn't any full-time employees that now work with inside the business. Like we've turned everyone into subcontractors. I want everybody, so other subcontractors or freelancers or anything along those lines, I just feel as though I don't want to hold somebody with inside my business if I can see the potential for growth. So for an example, people that have previously worked with me in the marketing sense, like I could see her potential big time. And we went from full-time, turned into a subcontractor, still doing full-time stuff, but she could mix and mingle things in between and all that type of stuff. But all my subcontractors and freelancers, like if it's going to benefit the business, 100%, like I would pay extra for them to be a part of something that's going to not only upskill my business, myself, but also upskill them and themselves, because they're going to respect that. They're going to come back and go like, the one person that truly believed in me at that point in time was Andrew, and he gave me the tools and the resources to be able to be where I am today. So yeah, I'm very big on upskilling my staff.
Yeah. Have you, on the opposite end, had to unfortunately let people go so far?
Yes. Yep.
How do you, any strategies, any, direct practices in that, or any learnings in the letting go of people?
It's more so just, I try and take the emotion out of it. Like it's hard because I'm a very empathetic person. Is it empathetic is the word where you care? You are genuinely careful, especially if they've got, kids, they've got to put food on the table and stuff like that. But I will do everything in my power that if I need to let them go, I will transition them to somewhere, or I will literally sit down with them and be like, where do you want to go? Like, what's the direction? Like, things are not working out here. Like, what is the life goal? Because I'm really big on purpose. Like, you've seen it all on social media. I like, and there's some people that haven't worked out with inside my business, but I've actually helped them start a business over here. And that's probably more so I like to try and help them out, or put them in the direction of friends, family, like, hey, I know so-and-so, you'd probably be better off type thing. So I will always, even if they did wrong by me or they didn't do wrong by me, I will try and help them out to put them in a direction that's going to benefit them.
Yeah, gotcha. So again, come back to the company, and I'm asking a few of these questions I've had over the last few months, quite specific, both personal views of this with friends and people coming through for the podcast, actually asking about these questions on the sort of tactical. In the hiring people, what sort of platforms have you found work the best if you've used multiple ones? That's one. And two, now with the way that potentially you scale or you subcontract out, have you found ways for it to be really efficient with the way that you're either going out to market with all that sort of information, or what sort of tools or tips have you sort of found through that process?
I haven't looked at any resumes. Don't look at resumes, don't care about it. I generally don't care about that. The biggest thing from hiring these days is TikTok and Instagram. So my videographer, I found him off TikTok. I was scrolling TikTok, came across this guy. I was like, fuck, he's epic. Sent him a message on Instagram. Realized that I was actually his sister's boss back in the day. Like, small world. But yeah, like I see people's content that they put out. I'm like, I resonate with this person. Like, this is like, you could be vital to my business in some way, whether it's a short term or a long term. It's like, you provide something. And sometimes they'd be like, but what can I help you with? I'm like, I see the way you do X, Y, Z. I feel like this could work really well with inside the business. And like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And just having belief in some of these people that are putting themselves out there. Because I think we're now moving into an era where, like, unless you're a lawyer, doctor, all that type of stuff, corporate world, resumes don't really mean much.
No.
Like, you build a personal brand and you're going to find somebody via social media.
Yeah.
And so that's my big thing. Back in the day, it was like Upwork. So like freelancers and all that type of stuff. That was where I used to get things. But now it's just full social media. It's either I've seen them or I've spoken to somebody that knows somebody that would be able to direct me in the right pace.
The one thing that always pops into my mind with now obviously having, so I've got a daughter, young daughter, and I honestly think in 10 years, 15 years time, as you say, the way you potentially get a job at that potential moment, or your work capacity to do something, is not going to be relational to, as you say, a resume. It's going to be your attitude, your energy, your ability to just want to go and do things. And energy, you have a lot of energy. Yeah. You seem like you're quite an energetic person, but you mentioned that you went all in.
Yeah.
All the things that you really care about. Have you found in all of this years now, growing LiveCo, doing Ambitious Life, doing all these things that you're doing, where in life do you find that you end up taking away energy from? Is it relationships? Is it fitness? Is it what other aspect of life? Do people not see that, you're making this quite successful? What does that come at a cost of, if there is one?
Look, I would probably say that my fitness in the last 12 months has significantly dropped. Fitness has been my life, I've lived and breathed it since I was a young age. That's probably taken a little bit of a step back. I still go to the gym every single day. I just don't train as hard as I used to. Like, I've gone from being on my feet all day to literally sitting behind a computer, all the time. Hips hurt. I'm over 30 now. Like, I've got a receding hairline.
You went for a run.
Do you know what? That was the funniest thing. So, to go off topic here. So, I see all these run clubs, right? Yeah. I went on these run clubs and I'm like, they're obviously doing something that I don't know. I've got to figure this out. So I was like, right, I'm going home. You know, Strava. So I'm like, I've hit the Strava and I've gone for a run, went for a run around the block. And I was gassed. And I was like, absolutely gassed. And I remember putting this up in my story. I got home and I was like, fuck, like, I must have ran for ages. I looked at it. It was like 590 meters. Yeah. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like people are running like 10Ks in the morning as like a warm up. And I'm like, I couldn't even run that. I was like, that's when I had a bit of a realization. I'm like, oh fuck, like I've actually got to do something about this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd probably say my fitness has probably lacked a little bit, but if we were to get a little bit deeper, like I'm a very energetic person. I've got a lot of energy to give and stuff like that, but it's not always like that. Like there's a lot that people don't see behind the scenes, in the sense of everybody has down days. Like every single person has a down day, and I would normally say I have one once a week, once every 2 weeks, where you just feel defeated. Like you just feel flat. You're just like we all have it. So I think social media is probably, you know, I show up on there all the time and, you know, I'm energetic and stuff like that, but it's not always like that.
What have you found nowadays to manage that? So, you know, for yourself, one, what does a bad day look like? Is it just business, or is it other things that might happen in life that trigger it? Or what is the most common thing that you find for yourself? And then, you know, second to that, this happens to us all over the time. What's the ways that you try to either kick yourself out of it, manage through it, sleep through it? What's those sort of coping things that you do at the moment?
Yeah, look, I had this really good one the other day. Is I'm not really a spiritual person in the slightest way, and I've got this one really good friend that's super spiritual. Like I tease her all the time, like the 5G lady, the tinfoil hat lady. Like she's actually amazing, and she like opened my eyes to something. It was like I was having like it had been going on for a couple of days. I was still showing up. I was still just doing the 1%, like the minimum 1%, doing what I need to keep the business ticking over and everything along those lines. And she's just like, look with it. She's like, turn your phone off, turn everything off, like just sit there in your own thoughts and just see how you go. And I sat there and I remember I had both whiteboards on by the side. I had like my mission statement up on there, and I was like just sitting there and just watching. And I was just looking, and I was like, that's aligned. Like, and that's what I started to realize a lot was going on as I was looking at shiny object syndromes across the fence and seeing what other people were doing. And I'm like, I could do that. Like I could do that as well. I was like, no. That's going off my alignment. And then that's 9 times out of 10. It's like, I'm either doing something, a task that is really fucking hard that I'm really struggling to do. So I need to break that down into bite-sized pieces to be able to achieve it. Or if I can't break it down to bite-sized pieces, it's a misalignment of my direction that I'm going. And that's why I'm feeling the type thing. So now it's a sense of come back, look at the drawing board. What is the mission that I'm going on? What is the direction? And just think, like, go for a walk, go do something that actually like gives you life. So yeah, going off topic there. So yeah, coming back and just looking at like the mission and going, what am I looking to achieve? Okay, I'm looking to achieve this. Well, how am I going to do this, and this? And then just sitting there, just thinking and thinking. And I've got like whiteboards. Like if you walk into my office, like one side, literally the size of the it's just
whiteboards.
And I'll just sit there and I'll just look at it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's that over there. I'm going to grab that. I'm going to write that down there. I'm like, hold on. Like, no, let's grab this and we'll do it. Like, it's just a massive scribble.
Yep.
Which is great because I love it. And then that's like my brainstorming thing. And then I'm like, I'm fucking G'd up. Let's go again. Like, I'm good for another week type thing. And then it happens again. Come back to my whiteboard again. I look at it. Okay, yep, that makes sense. Yep.
Do you think if you really inspect that, is it the fact of ideate or just throwing all those things out of your brain onto a canvas and extrapolating it from yourself and then being able to inquire upon it that gives you that energy? Maybe it's going to be both. Maybe it's that. Or is it a case of really reflecting on your mission or your vision or whatever have you? Is it both in unison?
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely say both. But I think a lot of it is like brain dumping because I know what I'm like. Like I'll be working here, looking at the computer, doing what I need to do, task on hand. I've got this computer open here and I'm like typing on a different task here. Then I'm back to here while scrolling Instagram at the same time. And I'm like, holy shit, I've got all this going, it's like a dopamine overload that it just sucks the life out of me. And then it's like, I've got all this stuff inside my head. I need to put it on a canvas. I need to look at it, figure it out, nah, scrap that. We don't need that. That's a misalignment. We don't need that. Like, just to be able to get it. It's like when you have too many tabs open on a computer. What happens? The computer runs slow, doesn't it? Close the tabs, hit refresh, and away we go again.
I like that sort of mentality.
Yeah.
One of the things I've been doing lately, so I've been keeping a track of just like daily journaling, right? For a few years now. And I've started to do it for my daughter. Since she was conceived, every single day, all the way through to today. Love doing that. One of the things I've been doing recently, though, is a memorable moments. So every day, I'll kind of reflect back on the day. What's a memorable moment? For me, kind of sharing more deeply, 99% of the time now, it's my daughter, right? One of the memorable ones, is having baths with her. She is now on the point that she's capable of grasping water, and then she'll put it on my chest, and amazing. On that point, I'm not thinking from an Instagram perspective or a computer. That's my memorable moment. For you, Andrew, what's making memorable moments for you at the moment? Because, and I asked this in the realization of, if you, whatever you want to deem success, you're not successful at from a company perspective, and you're doing what is probably deemed as also power, like, close your eyes and be able to create what you want to do and go after it and do it. You have that ability. So what's giving you those memorable moments on a day-to-day at the moment?
Probably my parents, my partner, and my dogs. Like, those are probably like my go-to. Like, when my partner gets home from work, like, I'm like a little kid. Like, fucking run down the hallway, like, just be annoying. Like, I am the most annoying person ever. Like, I do that with my dogs. I do that with my parents. I'm very similar in what you were saying with the, like, what you write down, memorable moments. Every single day I journal, and I always say, like, what I'm grateful for. And I would say 100 single times, it's like my dogs, my parents, my partner. Those are the three things. They're like my life, my happiness. That would probably, my happy moments. Being able to do things with them and, spoil them and just be happy. Like, no phones, like going for a walk. Like, in the afternoon, she'll come home from work and we'll just sit on the back steps. The dogs will be running around. I've got grass between my toes. The boys are running up and down, like, sun setting. Like, to me, like, I fucking love that. Like, I might have been, at my desk for, 10 hours prior to that, and that 1 hour or that half an hour of us just playing with the dogs outside, talking about our day and stuff like that, before I go back to sit on my computer for another hour, like, that there is just like my moment. Like, I thrive for that moment, that interaction.
Now, and this is a powerful one, because one of the reasons I wanted to start Me Immortals was to have conversations with people and get into like topics and pieces where, someone might have made it, might have been successful, might not have been successful, but it's also inquiring into the things that made it work, so that now when success comes, we don't forget, but there was these things that actually I had to do and set up, so that, as you're describing, you have all that availability to you. And is it hard, do you think, now, to where you are in this position with everything that's going on, to recognize, it's in all of this effort that I've been putting in now, year in, year out, of all this work that I've been doing to get me to this point, and not to say, do you go to a path where you forget how hard you need to work to maintain it, I guess I would say? Or is it in such a stage now that you've set yourself up and it's, okay, that's like, it's almost cruise control if I need it to be, like, it's now full enjoy mode in this aspect of my life?
It's definitely not full enjoyment mode, because I'm not anywhere to where I want it to be just yet. But if I was to, let's say, go on holiday for the next 12 months, it would run finally by itself. Like, it would just cruise along, just do its thing. Would we have growth? Yeah, we'd probably have growth, but not probably to the growth that I'd probably expect. So yeah, it would run, but I'm just not prepared to do that. Like, I've still got years.
The engine still wants to go. That's the thing.
Like, even sometimes I'm like, holy shit, like, 31, I'm getting old now. Like, I need to. And I'm like, you hear Gary Vee go, like, what do you mean? And I'm like, okay, like, I'm still like, I got a lot of me. I guess I'm not 21 no more, so I can't work all hours of the night. But when I'm on a task, I'm like, lights me up, And I think I've got my partner is very understanding of my work, what I do, and we have a fair exchange inside our relationship. So she knows, like, if I'm, doing an all-nighter, there's a fair exchange. She could be doing, a little bit extra around the home or whatever it might be. And then, vice versa. She might have to work a late night and I'll come in and, step up and all that type of stuff.
How did you determine that? How did that come about? Was that just natural that the relationship enabled you guys to just converse and find that out?
Yeah.
Or did it take something to be like, okay, no, look, we need to talk this about it and get really formal with it, or somewhere in the middle?
We're both very independent people, very like independent people. We don't need other people and stuff like that. It came down to communication. That was probably a big thing. We've like, our communication is pretty strong in what we talk about, to the point where like every single night we communicate about what's going on. So for an example, on a Sunday evening, we sit down and we talk about the week that's passed.
Mm-hmm.
What did we achieve? What didn't we achieve? Why didn't we achieve it? All that type of stuff. Put a plan in place for what the week is. And then kind of every single night, we'll kind of sit down and be like, what did you achieve today? Like, what did you learn? What did you, type thing. And then on a Tuesday night, we have like a learning night. So it's like, she'll bring an hour-long podcast, or she might have brought a course or a mentor or whatever it is. It might not be, probably got nothing to do with what I'm interested in, and vice versa. But I'll sit down, and then at the end of it, like after we finish it, could be an hour-long video, could be half an hour, and be like, she'll go, what did you take out of it? And I'll ask her the exact same thing. And we could be on two different levels, but then we're explaining like why we think that way. And so we've got we're very communicational about like what's going on, and we're very big on learning. And even like with our close group of friends, it's like we do this thing on a Wednesday where we all come together and we drink wine, and we have dinners and stuff like that. And our biggest thing that we talk about is like the peak of our day and the pit of our day. What's one peak of your day, and what's one pit of the day? And it could be just as simple as somebody brought you a coffee, or you got green lights all the way, and it's just being grateful for those little things.
I love that. Yeah.
Just little things. So like, that's something that, me and my partner, we sit down and we do. And so like at the end of every month, we go out for dinner on Friday night and we talk about, did we achieve what we wanted to for the month? Where are we sitting at? How does the next month look for us? What are some non-negotiables that I need from you as a partner to kind of like, come on, Andrew, pull your head out now, like actually start doing it.
Yeah.
So our communication is pretty strong.
Yeah. No, that's also, I mean, I was going to double down on what you said there, because I know that we're not doing this enough in our relationship at the moment with my partner.
It's hard. You guys are going to get.
It's different. It is different. Like, I'm actually, and I haven't actually said this to her, but I'll surprise her when it comes around, because my daughter's going to be 1 in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And I wrote down before the birth of my daughter, hey, this is how I want to be as a dad. This is my non-negotiables, what I want to be like, how I want to be showing up. And I kind of want to reflect on that of the year to go, cool. How would you rate me? Out of 10, basically, on these sort of things. How do you see this? And so I feel like I've put now what you're describing there, a lot of energy into my daughter.
Yep.
But it's fallen a little bit away with my partner, which, I mean, it's normal. That's a natural thing.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of in relation to that, we're saying for yourself with one sort of relationships, you seem like you got a good communication, or at least energy flowing through that from a work perspective as well.
Yeah.
But maybe to borrow the pit and the peak perspective, what would you say at the moment then is failing either in the communication or energy at the moment in life from like a pit perspective, if you had to look across the domain of everything at the moment?
As in my life or as a relationship?
No, in your life, just as a whole.
What is the peak the pit that's going on in my life right now? That is a good question. Manufacturers not turning around product costs.
Actually, on the manufacturing, so I know we touched on this.
Yeah.
You originally started mostly Australia-based, right?
Yeah.
Now,
that was a big thing. That was pure Australian manufacturers only.
Yes. Now, what does that look like today?
No. Look, our t-shirts here are manufactured here in Australia currently. That is getting to be moved overseas.
Yep.
And what that really came down to, it just came down to a cost thing. Like, it genuinely just came down to a cost. It was, I couldn't justify, because it's like somebody's only going to buy a t-shirt for a certain price, and I can only manufacture it for a certain price, and minimum order quantities are hit. And, when you're doing mass production, they can only go so far, because obviously labor prices in Australia are quite, up there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we definitely had to go on overseas.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it sucks, because I would love to keep it here. Genuinely would love to put it back to the economy and stuff like that. But
also gets back to what a customer is willing to pay for the value that a product is.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I'm going to reveal a couple of things here. One, I remember I asked you, I was going to talk to you about shirts and stuff like that in terms of apparel.
That conversation.
And you basically just said like, if you can, don't do it. Right? These you can't see them on this particular video, but I've got this particular like custom shirts I got done local, right? It's a local place. And this one's, each one alone, I think came out to like $70 something each to get. Of course, I'm not going to be reselling them at all. But the price point that you'd be competing at and the value of the brand that you have to set yourself up is just out of this world, in where maybe the domain that you'd be competing to sell something like that would be. When it comes to business for you, and I think you and amongst quite a lot of people are going to be a good question for this is it all about numbers? Is it all about the numbers in terms of transitioning people from selling them X apparel? I'm not just talking hats here. Is from the experience that you've seen now in business, is it just really a numbers game?
It's literally a numbers game. Like, if you don't know the numbers inside your business, so the way that I like to explain it is, like, I do a lot of coaching for a lot of people these days, right? And the biggest thing that I come to them, I was like, tell me the numbers inside your business. I want to know, how many people go to your website, add to cart ratio, your conversion ratio, your fixed cost ratio, marketing expense ratio, variable cost. And they're like, what? And I'm like, no, like, do you not know these numbers? And they're like, no. I'm like, do you know your profit margins? They're like, no. I'm like, do you even know if you're making profit? They're like, oh, well, and
like money at the end of the day. Yeah.
So like I've worked with some pretty big companies, like doing some coaching, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, bro, you've got way too many overheads. Like, you're scratching the surface. Like, do you need X, Y, Z? And they're like, oh, well, I thought I did. I'm like, no, scrap it. Like, get rid of it. Because gone are the days of having big flashy warehouses with big corporate staff and laptops and computers. It's like, people can work from home. Like, you don't need all the staff in the world. You've got freelancers. You can do that. You can literally build a 7-figure business with one person. Like, you don't need to have everyone else. So yeah, numbers are a crucial thing, because the way that I look at it now is like, when you know your numbers inside your business, it's like driving a crane. And I've never driven a crane in my life, so I'm just going to shoot this. Right? I'm no trader. Like, I sit at a computer. But if you pull this lever, it does that. If we pull that lever, it does this. Like, when you know the numbers inside your business, you know what lever to pull to be able to make things right. So when we look at a lot of e-commerce businesses, when they come to me, right, we look at the three things: marketing expense ratio, variable cost ratio, and fixed cost ratio. Okay, so your marketing expense ratio could be low. Let's increase the budget. Let's add some, more, ad spend to it. Cool. Everything's going really, really well. Your variable cost ratio could be a little bit high. Okay, that's your product cost. Well, if you're ordering, let's say, 1,000 units and it's XYZ, what if we were to up that to 1,500, 2,000 units? Where does that put it down? Okay, we're going to drop our variable cost ratio by 5%, which is going to give us 5% more profit margin inside our business. And then so we're able to scale just that a little bit more. And when you know these numbers in the business, it just makes it so much easier. Like, I know every single day what my break-even number is.
Yep.
On any new product, service, whatever we bring into the business, I know my break-even number every single day. So I look in my spreadsheet every single day to see where things are at. And I'm like, okay, cool. We're in the green. Everything's going really well. Market expense ratio is really good. Scale. Let's push this harder. Let's go harder.
Yep. And it's amazing to me to almost no matter the industry, or e-com is very, very obvious that numbers are important there, right? In terms of turnover or who you're bringing in, if you're going through a website, whatever, add turnover into sales. But I see this in a whole host of other industries now that, you wouldn't think about it, but it's all just numbers. It's just
space businesses. Yeah. Like back in the day working in the fitness industry, it was like, how many people are we speaking to? What is our appointment ratio? What is our close rate? Or, appointment ratio to phone, appointment to show ratio, close ratio, referral ratio. Like, it's just numbers. And it's just like, I'm not against service-based businesses where you've got let's go back a bit. Back in the day, if someone said to you like, oh, like, how many people have you got working for you? And you say one people, it's like, oh, you've got a very small business. Yep. Where if somebody goes, I've got 10 vans on the road, I've got 20 builders, blah, blah, blah. When somebody says that to me now, I fucking cringe, because I'm like, bro, like, you must be going bald, because like what you have that turnover every single day just to keep the lights on, like, stuff that, like, I'm very big on just skeleton businesses.
Yeah, I see it. I don't know if this is just a broader trend as well, but I see it in even myself and of one many years ago. I would have seen them like, oh, successful business.
Yeah.
You got plenty of people, you're growing it, you're in different locations. Now there's a handful of people that I know, like yourself, who run things very lean and it works, right? Again, is there a direct question for you? Would there be a difference right now to your life if you were doing a 7-figure versus a 9-figure company?
I was looking at the flash cars and the private jets and stuff like that.
Sure.
But no, I think my life would be the exact same. Like, I still wear the basketball singlet. I still wear a hat. Like, I dress the way that I am. I've got, my biggest thing is like when people come to me, they're like, you're turning over X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I've got food on the table and I've got a roof over my head. Anytime somebody asks me something, I'm like, that's all I care about. My mum and dad are happy. My partner's happy. My dogs are fed. I've got food on the table, roof over my head. I'm happy. And you can
increase all of those things in their individual. You can increase what a roof over your head looks like, what the food looks like, what the drinks that you have and the trips you have. But there's a level of opulence and excessiveness that when you really inspect it, you go, here's the other one, so 7 to 9, would you sacrifice to get to 9 if it meant a whole load more stress and building out a gigantic company? Would you want that? Would the push and the extra effort for you be like, okay, that's warranted, I'll take that? Or would you satisfy with, look, I'd give that up just to be lean and mean and almost have a business that I could just sort of steam through and I could just go and do my own thing?
Multiple 8-figure businesses. That's pretty damn.
But this is a real question. This is a real question, man.
Look, probably not. Probably not. Like, look, don't get me wrong. 9-figure sounds fucking great. Like, sounds really, really good. But if you got to do the 9 figures, I would want to have a team that is really good at what they do so that I'm realistically only just focusing on the growth of the business. I'm not focusing on product development. I'm not focusing on the marketing. I'm not focusing on that. Like, I want to have everything so lean. So I only have one person come to me, one person to speak to me at the end of the day and go, hey, Andrew, we had X, Y, Z wrong in the business. How would you like us to action this? He goes down to that person. He goes down to the next person. He goes down. That's probably the only way maybe to 9.
Yeah.
We think about. Because the last thing you'd want is 1,000 different people going, hey, I need you here and I need you here and I need you. And I'm like, fuck that. Like,
you can't. A minute each and there goes your day.
Because I had just got a little bit off topic. I had a bit of a reality check the other day, a couple of weeks ago, where I was like, hold on. We're doing well. I get to go to the gym when I want. If I want to go overseas, I can go overseas. If I want to go out for lunch, dinner, go stay down the coast, I can do whatever the fuck I want. Like, what am I worried about? Like, life's great. And I think that's where a lot of people get caught up, is like, they see so much on social media. It's like they need the jet, the Lambo, the Rolls Royce, all that type of stuff, that they don't take a step back and go, hold on, life is actually good. I appreciate what I have right now,
Well, and this one's even further off topic, but I know that you were in Rolls just recently.
Oh, that was great.
That looked very good.
Beautiful.
Now, in that Rolls, again, strike this to whatever you think feels like an opulent thing or a very nice thing to you in the world you're listening to this. Did you sit in that and go, you know what, it would be worth putting in a bit more effort across a few things to have these sort of things, not because you need them, but because, you know what, it's worth the hard work.
Yeah. Look, my vision board changed that day.
I did.
You know what? Like, anyone can own a Lambo, right? And like, Rolls Royce is like the fucking duck snuck.
Yep.
That was like, getting into that, I was like, I even got goosebumps. Like, I was like, man, this is like next. And it wasn't like, I think the way Darren has done his Rolls as well, like, was he's done it next level. Because it's like, when you see Rolls Royce, right, you think rich old people. But I think he's got like $20,000 worth of rims that he's upgraded, the suspension and all that type of stuff. Like, it looks boss. Like, it looks fucking.
There's a few in the last couple of years seeing Roll. Yeah, this is mostly social media as opposed to in person. But seeing them, they go, it's moved from old, I guess you'd call it, to more like, wow, that looks boss. That looks really, really cool. Again, a blacked out Rolls. Yeah, for me.
So you think about like even like the Mercedes Maybachs, like that was a very like, wow, like sit in the back, like Adrian Patelli's rocking around. What is he? He's like 30. Like, like it's now young. I think there's a guy on the Gold Coast, Fisher, I think his name is, or something. He's got a Maybach as well. Like, young dudes are like making these what was considered old people wealth, like sick again. Like it's actually dope.
Yeah. No. Okay. I like that. I like the deal. Yeah, the board has changed.
Oh yeah, Rolls Royce, 100%.
That's it. Yeah. What would the interior color be?
I would love to say orange, but I think it might clash with my beard, to be honest. Like, I generally think it would be. I think the orange looks sick.
I think the orange, you'd have to go orange.
Yeah, orange, like, looks next level. And I remember, I think Troy Candy had a Rolls Royce at once upon a time. He had, like, fucking 22-inch rims on it, slammed, like it was, I was like, right, like, these sick cars that they've just brought the new age to them. Like, I think that's dope.
It's a good evolution of them.
Yeah.
Question on the business card. I don't want to miss this because it spiked my interest. Right now, you're looking at right now with the businesses, and you've at the very beginning of this podcast said, "Hey, we're gunning for the top of Australia." In when you think again, caps, you're thinking streetwear, you're thinking Livco. To do that, what does that mean? And I'm talking internally to the company, metrics wise. Will you know that's been achieved? How the revenue, the profit is what's telling you? Is it the size of the Instagram handle, or how would you kind of like start assessing that? Because
great way to measure it.
Because, and I guess the reason I ask it is with a few different businesses, for me, it'd be a question of, okay, what's the metric that's telling me that I've achieved this outcome that I'm actually gunning for? What does that actually look like for you?
I think for me, there's no way to actually measure that. There's probably no way at all. I think for me, it would be more just that is people's go-to product. I think that's probably realistically the only way to measure it, because you could measure it off revenue, like, but there's, a lot of businesses out there that revenue-wise are doing really, really good, but just about to turn into bankruptcy the next day type thing. I think for me, it would be people's preferred go-to hat. I think that's probably the only way. And having other brands wanting to use our fitment with their logos and all that type of stuff, and licensing out our fitment to these other brands. I think that's probably when you start to know.
Yeah, when you say fitment, what do you mean by that?
So we've got a particular type of fitment that we have with our hats. So we've had tech backs drawn up, and we've got very specific on how it's shaped, like.
And I'm going to tell you, I know nothing about hats. One, I'm not a hat wearer. I'm not a hat wearer, but I have to say, it's clear that the selling point of the hats is that. Like, I know that yourself through the company put really great effort into being on trend through the cycles of the year, right? State of origin.
Yeah.
Different colors. You got Super Bowl, right?
Yep.
You're right on there with that. And the color and the content changes. It makes you like, oh, this is awesome. But it always sort of come back to me, because I was thinking, what's the unique selling point, right?
Yeah.
It's that. It's the shape. It's what the hat is. And you see that being, you see it in other marketing being like, oh, this is the deepest hat or the like. But it's consistently what comes through in your particular brand.
Yeah, it's like we've got a particular type of fitment that it's just working. And it's like we recently had to change our fitment because our audience was, we listened to our audience. Our audience was like, we need this XYZ to change. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let's give this a crack.
Yep.
And then I was like, holy fuck, this is too big now. Like, this is next level. And then one half of the audience was like, this is like amazing, best product. I've searched my whole life trying to look for this, and now I finally got it. And then we got the other half that were like, now it's too big. So now we're in a predicament.
Yeah.
And we literally had the samples arrive this afternoon where we're now having to go into size categories.
Okay.
So we don't have a kind of a one size fits all no more. It's kind of like we've got you bigger, we've got you smaller, and then there's different things that we're going to go to in that. So
that's exciting. What if any risk exists right now with the company?
Sorry, I said that again.
What risk, if anything, if there's any at all, sits within the company? What I mean by that is, one from many businesses, one of the things that can kill a business is cash flow. That's generally predominantly the big thing, as you say.
Yep.
So people could be all fine on revenue, but if you're just making a mean, your profit margins are nothing, you could go out of business very quickly. Is there now where Livco sits? Because you take this option of, okay, cool, now let's do these different things. Yep. Let's grow it. Let's go this path. Do you spend any minutes being like, oh, it's risky. Like, do we do that? Do we keep it the same? Do we have to play back a little bit? Or is it very thin now in the risk sense? And it's like, oh, no, we know enough of what we've been doing. we've been in the market, we're established enough that we can play, we can make this work.
Yeah, we're at a time where we can play. But I love risk. Like I'm like, fuck it, let's just see what happens.
Yeah,
I'm a person that like, I want to adapt and I want to pivot really fast. Like if I'm putting this out into the market or I'm doing a particular marketing campaign or whatever I'm doing, if hypothetically that doesn't work, I need to move really fast. Like I don't want to be taking, 2 weeks, like 3 weeks to get something done. Like we're making a decision, we're doing it right now. Like whether it's hypothetically we fuck up on social media, we get out, we speak about it. There's no big corporate ladder where I need to speak to this person and do this and do all my, I am the founder. I am now essentially the face of the brand. It just somehow ended up being that way. Where I'm just like, okay, there's not a hell of a lot of risk. I think if there was going to be any risk, I think sometimes most clothing brands know this, it's a cash flow because you've spent $250,000, $500,000 in product here that's in development right now, that's landed in the country, you've done all your products, you've taken all your photos and you put it up online for sale, but then you've got to put another $250,000 into this for the next season, ready to go. And it's just a juggling act. And yet again, it all comes down to knowing your numbers within inside the business to be able to make these things happen.
Yeah, no. It's an important piece. One of the, I'm going to say, interestingly, why have you become the face of the brand all of a sudden now? I'm not going to say it's a TikTok that you've been doing and the videos of packing and stuff like that. That's really cool. Yeah. That is a good idea.
Yeah, well, I came across it as I was chatting to a manufacturer and we were doing some changes on that. And they're like, do you have Alibaba? I was like, yeah. They're like, okay, cool. Jump on our live right now. And it was like her showing the products and stuff like that. I was like, hold on, like am I missing something here?
Yep.
And 1st of January, I decided, I was like, I'll give this a crack. So I went live on TikTok the 1st of January. I was hungover. Like I was hungover, right? 1st of January, hungover, went live on TikTok. I had like 10 people watching, whatever, just packed hats, type thing. Then I did it on the 2nd and we had like 50 people. Did it on the 3rd, we had like 100 people. Hold on, I want something here. And then so the analytics on TikTok, you can see the analytics and it shows how like rough average watch time and stuff like that. And it shows you the top 10 people that were watching.
Right.
And it could be, so if I was on live for 2 hours, it could be anywhere from an hour up to an hour and 45 minutes that people were watching me just pack hats. And I'm like,
that's wild.
What is going on here? Like, this is mental. And then what was happening is like people that I went to school with that don't follow me, I was showing up. People that I knew from when I was younger, people that knew of friends of friends, people that had purchased from us that didn't follow us were just somehow ending up in the live. And I don't know if it's what I'm saying. I don't know what it was. So now I have a set thing is on a Monday night and a Thursday night, just not tonight.
Yep.
Monday night and a Thursday night, I will go live and I will pack orders. And we kind of just do like a fun thing where it's like, if we get 50 people, I'll do a giveaway. Like, it's like, and I'll just say to them, I'm like, if you can get 50 people into this live, well, I'll pack orders. I'll do a giveaway to any of you guys that are watching right now. We'll just pick one person. And they do it. They love it. They go crazy. They would like, if we're hypothetically cross over that 50 mark and then it'd be 100. And yeah, that it's nuts. And I've built some really good relationships because they get to know me on a personal level. They get to know my backstory. And it's even like when people ask questions now, because they've been watching for so long, they literally answer it for me. Like I could be over here grabbing something and they literally...
And people are just answering on your behalf.
Literally answer it. And I'm like, this is great. So I have done a little bit of a change and I'm trying to get it away from our business TikTok and actually build it more into my personal brand TikTok.
Yep.
And I started a brand new TikTok last week or something called that. So you got to get over 1,000 followers before you can go live. So I'm just building on that. But I'm going to definitely double down harder on my personal brand
through that. Now, yeah, because I was going to say that personal brand. And I think you talked about this. I think it was either a reel or a story that I've seen of you recently. And I was going to ask you that. Is it a bad thing that for Livco, you're becoming the face of it? Is that, do you want that to be the path in terms of, yeah, cool, I'll be the face of it. I'll be number one person that you're seeing the company through. Because yeah, personal brand is a huge thing. It's it's always part or the whole story that people are buying.
Look, it wasn't what I wanted it to go. But then if I think back to when we first started in my parents' garage, like I was the face behind it. I was jumping on Snapchat. I was talking about our products, what we were doing, packing orders and all that type of stuff back then. And it's like, as much as I didn't want to be it, I've always been it. And that makes sense. And I think it was more so in the sense of, we see other companies, you know, they've got, you know, models and all that type of stuff. And I'm like, I need to be like that. I need to be like that. And then I had a bit of a realization. It's like, no, like I started this brand and I want people to know like about it from me as the founder.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm really big on personal branding now. Like I'll probably try and be in majority of our campaigns. You know, I'll always probably show up on our stories. And I'm hoping if, you know, even if we get to that 8-figure mark, 9-figure, you know, if we ever get there, then I'm still the face of it to some form of extent. Because if, you know, Gary Vee can do it, Alex Samoza can do it, I've got no excuses. I've got no excuses.
Yeah, plenty bigger people like been able to do it. Now, the one caveat to that, and it's always a good question to ask, but I don't think that you sit within the space. It's if you're building a business or a brand that you want to sell.
Yeah.
If you're looking to sell something, all right, then you're tying yourself to it, right? And what does that mean? Informally, you know, there's a purchase of a business that I was doing and I was asking you about some of the things. We had to pull away from that for that reason, for that exact reason, right? So it can harm in other areas. But in the space that you're talking about right now, it doesn't sound like to me that you want to give away Live Co-Ambitious Lifestyle ever. That's who you are. That's a part of you, what you've been building. It's going to be you for however long that exists.
Yeah, I don't think in maybe the clothing space that it's going to be an issue, because if hypothetically it was to sell or anything along those lines, it would be a retail giant that would take over it and, you know, they'd put it in their stores or something along those lines. And there would just be, you know, an agreement stating that I can't start a brand in the next 12 months or take the clothing, you know, somewhere else. So I don't think that would be an issue. I think the only issue would be is if I was to go do something stupid out there in social media or in the world, that could hurt the reputation of it. You see it all over social media now. Somebody says the wrong thing, they do the wrong thing, and it can hurt them, like hurt their business really bad. So I think you just got to be very mindful of that type of stuff.
Yeah. Do you think you filter yourself at all much?
No. Like I get it all the time. Like my brother, he will message me because my niece loves watching me on social media.
Love that.
But like, as you know, like I just say the fuck word all the time. Like, and he's like, come on, man, like she's watching. And I'm like, fuck that. Like I am me. Like I just don't, my personality is I kind of just say it as it is and I don't filter it as much. There's just things that I don't like to speak about on social media, like political things. I've got my own views. And that's one thing I always say is like when I speak about a particular topic, especially in my personal brand, it's like, these are my views. Like do what you want with them, take them how you as, but these are my views. And if it hurts your feelings, then it's obviously shows more about you than it does about me. I think that's probably the only way that it could potentially hurt a personal brand or a business. Just saying the dumb thing.
Yeah. No. From the people who you're talking to as well right now in the coaching perspective or in other formats at the moment, do people tend to be navigating or gravitating towards, I've got to become much more of a personal brand. That's kind of an easy movement where everyone's going?
Yep, I'm doubling down on them. So like all my one-on-one clients right now, we literally had a call last Wednesday, and it was all about personal branding. I'm like, you guys got to do this. Like, and the reason I knew personal branding was a big thing. Like I put up a post, I think it was about 2 weeks ago where we talked. I did a post back in July 2020 where I was like, in 5 years time, personal branding is going to be the biggest thing. You need to learn about personal branding. And I gave my take on it. And I was scrolling through like my archives and I came across it and I screenshot. I was like, I said 5 years from now, we're 4 years in and we've hit this big time. And I think the biggest realization that I had for this is I did the marketing for Candid skincare. Jonathan, Kat, Letitia, and Deja, and they've been building their personal brand massively on TikTok. They're one of the biggest TikTok families in Australia. And when we launched their product, bear in mind, I'm sitting on a beach in Fiji, and we launched, and they sold out of their OG kit within 4 minutes. No Facebook ads, no Google ads, just pure personal.
Wow.
I'm like,
yeah.
Wow. Like this is unreal. Like this is absolutely nuts. And so I think people also need to realize that when you do personal branding, you've got to be yourself. You've got to be 100% authentic that aligns with you. Don't try and be somebody that you're not, because that's when it completely goes off course. And one of my one-on-one clients, when we talked about personal branding last week, he's really into the fitness space. But for him, what he does is he's a tradesman. Like he's a tradie. And I was like, just be you. Show up and be the person that you wish you knew, 5 years ago. Tell the stories that you wish you knew 5 years ago. And I literally got a message from him today. He had his first video, hit 10,000 views from him just being his authentic self.
Yep.
And I was like, double down on it. Like, he's got all these guys coming in like, that's cool. How did you do that? Like, explain to me like how you did this, and this. And I'm like, just keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Just show up, build a personal brand, and just see where it takes you. It may not take you anywhere, but people are going to remember you from it. Like, I remember back in the day when I was big on, Snapchat, and I was at Cleveland night markets with my ex-partner.
Yep.
And this girl come up and she's like, "You live co-guy from Snapchat." I'm like, what the hell? Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, personal branding is huge, right? Anyone that's watching this, anyone that's feeling lost, just show up and be your authentic self. Doesn't matter whether you're you start up a 9-figure business, a mum, a dad, anything. Like, there's this guy, I don't follow him, but he's popped up on my TikTok that many times. And he's an Aboriginal guy. He, was on drugs, all that type of stuff. And he came to TikTok and he's like, I want to clean myself up. And I've kind of he pops up all the time. And it's been probably 2 years ago. And I watched the story. He popped up yesterday, and it was like, he's like, man, 2 years ago, I wish I was at this day. He's like, I've got a job, I've got a company car, I've got food. He's like, man, if I knew that I could eat every single day and not have to worry about getting my next thing, I'm like, man, that's so cool. Like, the fact that he was able to build a personal brand and everyone is cheering him on, G'ing him up. Like, they're like, man, it's so cool to see how far you've come. Just start speaking like what's going on in your life.
Yeah, well, it's like, I don't know, for a long time, any of the social media platforms, it was, and maybe still is in some formats, it's present the picture that you want to present because you think it's what people want to see, where what you're saying is, and I see it more and more, I kind of want to follow more, see the people that are just showing me more their real day-to-day life, because in a weird way, that's a fascinating bit. And I've always been fascinated by that.
I think to come on that, I created something the other day, and it was like, back in the day, let's use Instagram as an example. If you were some form of influencer that we would consider on Instagram, and I'm not saying all influencers, there was a selected few, they had, the cameramen, they had, the flash houses, the cars, they had the makeup artists. And when they showed up to social media, everything was perfect. Like everything was good. TikTok came along, which was a real raw, there's no edits, there's no high contrast. Like, it's, you pull your phone out and you record. These people here from Instagram were like, I'm too good for that, blah, 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 trying to shove products down your throat. Like, look at me. That these people that started to show up on TikTok, showing up as their authentic self, caring about the audience and actually engaging with them. What happens is these people from are gone, oh shit, I now have to be on this platform. And they're trying to be authentic. And it's like, hold on, you didn't give a fuck about us 5 years ago. And now all of a sudden you want to, pretend that you care about us. Like, you're just here for the views. Like, you should have been doing that a long time ago. And it's like, this is why I feel like the new age of TikTok, social media influencers are real. They're raw. They're showing behind the scenes, and they're talking about real life stuff. Not pretty pictures, not like, look at me. It's like, this is what's going on in my life.
And it's the story still sells, but the story has changed.
100%. 100%. Like, I had a good friend reach out to me just before she had a baby, and she was freaking out. She's like, what do I do, Andrew? Like, I don't want to go back to work. Like, I'm a mum now. Like, I don't want to put my child in daycare. And I was like, show up every single day, talk about your life as a mum. I was like, you're a first time mum. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know. Like, tell people your experiences, because there's going to be new mums that are out there that want to learn.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and be in the exact same spot.
Yeah. And guess what? She didn't go back to work.
That's like good.
Yeah, she didn't go back to work. And it's like, it was just so good for her to call me up and just like, I don't have to go back to work.
Yeah.
Like, she was able to build a personal brand, create an online e-commerce business, sell her products from there, and she gets full-time with her kids all the time.
Yeah, and I think, look, I mean, that's what you do in part through your businesses, is helping out people.
Yeah.
Whether it's, that's our path or different paths, you seem to be helping out others to find that, find the niche, find your 1,000 true fans type of deal.
Yeah.
Put it in a product or put it in a way that's truthful and sharing it out to the people where the type of people you want to be connecting with you is, and off you go.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, just pulling away from that into masterminds, but still people, but masterminds.
Yep.
I don't know if you're a person who naturally gravitates to something like that, to going to a mentor, to going to a group of people. Myself, I'm not. I'm just very much not like that. I've rebelled, like mentally rebelled against it. / I don't want to do this. I've sometimes formed part of a group. Like, I don't want to do this. I don't know why, but I can see there's a lot of value. Now, that's what I think.
Yeah.
From your perspective, you've talked about being, just before we came to the podcast, you were chatting about a particular experience that you'd been on.
Yep.
I know that right now you're in another mastermind right now. 1, do you gravitate normally to them? And 2, do you find them useful?
Back in the day, I used to think like, nah, they're not. Because essentially a lot of people used to say you're just a lot of shit. These days, I love it. Like my subscription bill is ridiculous.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I love it. So I've been a part of one, and I've got a lot of respect for him. He's been a big person that shaped me, not only business-wise, but personal development-wise, understanding how I operate and stuff like that. So I've got a lot of respect for him, and I've been with him since 2018, I think, something along those lines.
Okay.
2018, and still with him to this day. And essentially, I will join groups, masterminds, to get the knowledge that I need out of it. Whether I'm in there for a month, 12 months, whatever it is, like everyone scales up to where they're things. So things that I was learning 7 years ago is different to what I'm learning, today. So yeah, no, I'm very big.
Yeah.
On
what triggered you on the 2018 one? Can you share who that was?
So his name's Lewis Mocker.
Okay, so you're Lewis. Yeah.
Everyone knows Lewis. Like he's a great guy. Like he's genuinely a good guy. And I don't know, he just resonated with me. It's just like, I would probably say that I was a bit of a lone wolf, like growing up. Like I had beliefs and things. Like I'm not big into real estate. I never understood, mortgages and paying these loans off and be stuck in a house that you can't just pull a brick off the wall and go buy for your coffee,
Yeah.
Like I've just never understood that, but there was no one in my circle that spoke that way. Like everyone was like, the Australian dream, go buy home.
Sure. Yeah.
He just kept saying these things. And I'm like, this is exactly how I'm fucking thinking. Like, and so I joined this thing and, School of Mastery is great. Like I don't look at it every single day. I don't look at it every single week, but I know that I can, go to him and, we've built a bit of a friendship. And he's actually a genuinely good guy, and he's actually helped me a lot. As well as, I've got great friends that have mentored me along the way, like, Dan Lau.
Yep.
The 26th of every single month, he calls me regardless, and he checks in with me. Where's everything at? Good friend of mine, Greg Lacey, like, love him to death. Like, he tells me the honest truth, the shit that I do not want to hear.
Like, you need that.
Like I'll get off of some phone call someday and I'm just like, man, I didn't want to hear that, but fuck, he's right. Like, he's so right. And then just kind of like whatever's going on. Like at the moment, I've recently just joined the One Life Club with Emil and Simon and stuff like that. And I'm just about to join Simon's other one because I'm like, they know something that I don't know. And I want to figure out what that is. And so I've got enough respect, and I feel like they've got they know enough to be able to provide me with something, even if it's the smallest thing, as long as I can take something out of it. And realistically, mentorships, mindsets, coaches and all that type of stuff, it's realistically what you decide to do with that knowledge.
Yeah.
Because
it's the action.
There's a new wave going through at the moment, motivation porn. Like it's literally, you go watch all these motivation to get, that dopamine hit. Once you watch them, you feel like shit because you don't actually fucking put it into action. Like, put it into action and you'll be surprised what actually can come from it.
Yeah, 1 hour of getting really motivated about something is not equivalent to doing 1 hour of the action or the task.
100%. So like I've got like binders, like notebooks. Like there's so one guy that mentored me many years ago and learning Facebook ads, I still have that binder of like Facebook ads that this is back in 2015. that even the other day I pulled up and I was like, oh, we used to do this back in the day. Why don't I test this? Like, even though this hasn't been done for 5-6 years, let's see if it works today. Like, everyone's talking about the new age. Let's see if I can try and incorporate the old age with the new age. And yeah, I've just got binders on binders of knowledge. Like, considering it's school, I hated school. Like, I genuinely hated school, hated learning, but nowadays love it.
Well, and I think it's, I truly think it's not a case of that you didn't like, it's not that you were opposed to learning. It was not learning in that particular 100%. Way, right? And you see so many successful people that you see nowadays, and by success, I mean either a big company or successful in whatever they've put their mind to and achieving in different formats than the usual, what you'd see in everyday life. Usually like that. It's like they rebelled against the normal systems, but in a more open system, all of a sudden they can make it work because it's under their own terms and their own things.
100%.
It's interesting, the piece about Lewis. I've tried to get him on this podcast. That he's opposed to doing any sort of podcast conversation. He's done one. I know he's done one. I actually went and talked to him and Robin at their car. And he still said no.
He's very. I'm like, dude, it's so funny. Like, obviously, I've got the ambitious lifestyle that I want to do. I've got him on my list. I haven't asked him yet. Haven't asked him yet, just because I know how he feels about that, and I'm not going to force somebody into something that they don't want to do. Something. But I think he's got a great story and he's got a great message to put out to the world that a lot of people need to hear.
Yeah, and expanding from that, so if you don't know Lewis, go check out Lewis. I think the way that he approaches brand, story, very clean on what he wants to do, what he doesn't do.
Business model.
He's
very clear on it. It's like, and I learned that from like a lean business model was like, very, very lean. You don't need to have, thousands of employees. Like, the fact that he's, turning over seven figures a year, multiple 7 figures a year, and it's him and Robin. That's it.
Yeah. Like, lean. You want it to be like that. Again, it reduces the stress and the things that you want to do.
Yeah.
What has you excited for the rest of 2024?
What has me excited? Oh, look, I want to go on a holiday at the end of the year. Like, I've got a big holiday that I want to go on.
Okay.
That's probably one thing that I'm really excited for. Look, I'm excited for just the growth of the business. Like, I've got some pretty good big goals that I want to achieve this year. And I've mapped them out so clearly that if I was to cark it tomorrow, touch what I don't, anyone can pick up that. It's not even a piece of paper. It's actually a binder. Like, it's about 10 pages long. Pick up that binder and read it word for word and just follow the steps and you'll be good. Like, that's how clear. And I literally carry that with me everywhere. Like,
wow. Okay.
With me everywhere.
This is like the master plan, basically.
Yeah, essentially my master plan for the next 12 months. So yeah, essentially like just the growth of not only LiveCo, but my personal brand, because that's obviously something that I'm trying to double down on this year, which you've obviously seen all over social media.
And what is, can I let you go without asking you this, what is a blocker to that do you see in 2024 to achieving any of that?
So something that's going to stop me?
Something
that's probably belief.
Really? I would have said that. Okay. Yeah.
Probably belief. As an entrepreneur, like, I'd never like to class myself as an entrepreneur, but I guess I am. When you're inside your own head, like, you can like come up with some fucking crazy stories, like just not believing in yourself. And I think that's probably why I think I've had such a bit of a growth spurt in this first quarter of the year, is I was like, I believe in what I'm doing now. Like, because I had so many different things on the go before, from, LiveCo, Live in Media, Ambitious Lifestyle, commercial cleaning, all that type of stuff, that I was just so spread thin that I didn't have a chance to believe in myself, because there was so many things going on. And so when that goes wrong over there and that goes wrong and that goes wrong, I'm like, well, obviously it's me. Obviously it's me. I'm obviously doing something wrong. That would probably be my biggest thing. But I've got closest friends around me that believe in me. My partner believes in me. My parents believe in me. That probably shouldn't stop me from what I'm wanting to achieve. Yeah.
Well, there you go. To 2024, Andrew, really have appreciated you jumping on, man, into the podcast as well. Now, for those at home, if you didn't check into the previous podcast, how can they find you today? Now, it's not going to be very hard. So I reckon if you listen to this, you are undoubtedly going to get an ad for LiveCo. I will work forward 100%. But if that doesn't happen, how do people go and reach out either to yourself or the companies that you're looking through?
Probably just find me on my personal Instagram, which is Andrew Taylor __ or LiveCo. If you just go to www.lvco.com.au, you're going to get retargeted that many times that you're probably going to get sick of me.
Yep. Yeah, which is the right way to do it.
The right way to do it.
I appreciate it, Andrew. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.